Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, let me start my task by acknowledging the presence of the officials of the Department of Correctional Services from head office. Minister, let me then proceed to introduce our Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister Njali, to officials of the Department of Correctional Services. Our Deputy Minister hails from Mpumalanga. She held 2 executive positions in Mpumalanga. This is an occasion where our minister has instructed us to gather. The minister is the first minister under the Government of National Unity, with the department having its own ministry. I would like to then request the minister to come address us. Minister, we are here to serve the government of South Africa under your leadership. Thank you, Minister.
Dumalang, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you that we can have an opportunity to see each other eye to eye. It is important. For a couple of years, I think it's 10 years, there was no ministry for correctional services. When the president phoned me and he said that I want to offer you the Ministry for Correctional Services and I want you to come and build a new ministry specifically for correctional services. And I think that is the right thing the Honorable President did. That if you look at the task, the huge responsibility on correctional services, I do believe that correctional services deserves to have a ministry on its own. We must talk to each other so that we are all on the same page moving forward. And I want to start to say, why are we correctional services? What does that mean? It means that we deliver a service. To who do we deliver that service? To the people of South Africa. The Commissioner has referred to it, saying that we are here to serve South Africa. So we must say to each other that it is not about a political party. Yes, I am the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, but I also do understand that when we talk about correctional services, it is a service to all the people in South Africa. That we must always remember. And I want to start to share with you my views, my priorities. I've already shared it with the National Commissioner, that if I do not share it with you, then we cannot be successful. You must also know, how do we see the future in terms of correctional services? Because we can only have success if we take hands. It's not only for a minister on its own, or a deputy minister, or a national commissioner that can obtain these goals on their own. We can only obtain the goals if we take hands. Now, where do we start? I said one very important matter is corruption. Not only in correctional services, all over the country. There's, as far as I'm concerned, no one department that does not have corruption in their midst. And we must ensure that there is zero tolerance when it comes to corruption. There's no doubt in my mind that far the majority of the employees of correctional services are hardworking, honest people with integrity, because that's what we need for the future to save South Africa. Integrity, hardworking, and we must build that trust. And all of us must ensure that we get rid of the bad apples, because it's the bad apples that is actually also giving all of us a bad name. We cannot allow impunity. There must be consequence management. And we must take hands. We must ensure that we become proud. How do you become proud? You become proud when, for instance, if you walk in the street and you wear your uniform, that the people of South Africa will come to you and say, wow, you're from Correctional Services. Look at your attitude. And I've watched when the national anthem was sung, how certain people stand at attention. Make sure that the way you act is a way of proudness, a way to say that I'm here to serve. Because that actually reflects your attitude. And I've used the expression in Afrikaans, I said, dit is die klein jakkalsies wat die wingerde verwoes. What does that mean? Yeah, that actually means that you may think it's some insignificant sort of incidents that not really matters. But that's where we make our mistake. It is those things that we think is insignificant that can bring change. I want to bring back to our facilities a competition to see which facility, in terms of certain categories, have the best and the most beautiful garden. That is what we must do. If you visit your facility, you must be proud to say, wow, look at our garden. It's beautiful. And I'm already in certain discussions with certain companies, no names, no pectoral at the moment, to sponsor us with those sort of competitions so that we can make our people proud. That is what it is. But when we talk about to be proud, I, as minister, when I walk in the streets and I see members in uniform, I also want to feel proud. And vice versa. If you see me walking in the streets, I am sure that you also want to say, well, look at the attitude. Look the way he walks. He is proud, and that will make you proud. So it's one hand washes the other hand. That is what we must say to each other. We must uplift the morale of our people. And yes, we will attend to certain issues. I am informed that not all our employees are issued with a uniform. I know that some of them have uniforms, but they were not issued with the correct shoes. It's a klein jakkalsie. Shoes, a klein jakkalsie. But we must ensure that those uniforms, full uniforms, are available to our people. That's our obligation. We must look at all our employees to ensure that they are working in conditions in such a manner that they will be happy employees. And why do I say that? Correctional Services is quite different from all the other departments. It's easy to be with Home Affairs or the National Affairs, but we deal with the most dangerous people in South Africa. The other day I said at a meeting where the president was present, and we spoke about the criminal justice system, because we must look at the criminal justice system in South Africa. because our people, law-abiding citizens, are more and more becoming victims of crime. And there are certain plans, and I said, yes, I listen to what all my colleagues say, and we must improve it. My only problem is that it's a bit of a contradiction for me, because in the end, my department or my ministry will deal with all the results of a better criminal justice system. And I am aware of the circumstances under which some of our people really work, which are really dangerous. I understand that. So I want to say to you, the most important asset for correctional services are you, the employees. And the success will depend on all of us. Another priority is we will have to look at self-sufficiency. And I know there are some people, yeah, very glad to hear that. We will have to expand. Yes, we have bakeries. We produce food. We have workshops. My furniture in head office is completely manufactured by Correctional Services. We are in the process where we can get other state departments to say, don't go to the private sector, come to Correctional Services. We can give it for a cheaper price, with sometimes higher quality and better furniture. So that is what we must look at. So that is a priority. And I see these projects of self-sufficiency also as part of rehabilitation. I'm very fond of gardening. I hear the National Commissioner is also very fond of gardening, so maybe you understand why you're going to have a competition. But my experience is, if you get an inmate that puts something in the ground, look at it, ensure that there's water, and see that there's coming out of the ground something. It's growing. In the end, it is produced as food in one of our facilities. That will give some new meaning in life. Therefore, rehabilitation is also a priority. I always say to people, say for instance you have a prisoner who received a 10-year sentence. After 10 years, that prisoner is going back into our society, whether you will like it or not. I think there's some confusion among some people of the public. They think we are the Justice Department because they want us to change the sentences. We cannot. After 10 years, that person is going back. And therefore, we have the responsibility to ensure that there is proper integration when it comes to that. I also want to say that we will have to look at the overcrowding of our facilities. I already started to have talks with other departments. We will have to look at the reform of the sentencing process in South Africa. I mean, it's totally unacceptable to have a person who cannot afford 100 rand bail, but it's costing the taxpayer 400 rand a day to be in our facilities. We cannot afford that a person who comes to our facilities for a minor offense go out of the facilities a hardened criminal. It cannot be tolerated. We cannot allow that, because then we disserve South Africa and its people. And therefore, these matters are very important. And I share it with you so that you can understand how I see the future. I know, normally, ministers are only there for 5 years, then there's change. It is in the hands of the president. The president can, after maybe you heard this speech, said, I disagree with you and I think I'm going to replace you. but I don't think he will do it. So, because we are on the same page. Therefore, from my side, please come forward if you have problems. Talk. And by that, I don't mean that you can bypass your managers. And together we can solve the problem. Of course, there will some problems we will not be able to solve immediately. And I said many times, the solutions, when it comes to that, there are no quick fixes. It's not a quick fix. We must say to each other, yes, there's an elephant in the room. Corruption, all that sort of things. And how do we eat the elephant? You eat it piece by piece. And in the end, we will win by eating that elephant. Maybe not in my time, but when I'm looking back, or when I'm going to look back, I want to say at least we tried, we have ensured that the principles are there. We ensured that the foundation has been set. And we are lucky. Some of those foundations are there already. Not new because I'm a new minister, but because of the department's hard work. Hard work of the National Commissioner and you as the team. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We look at those principles, and they are good principles. But we must ensure that we expand on that. I've mentioned, for instance, self-sufficiency, our farms. I've already been contacted by various organizations to see how we can expand it. Get private partners. Part of the priorities from the government of national unity is to say that we have an obligation. The results of the election set, whoever the government is going to be, we now the government of national unity, we want to create a better South Africa. And how do you create it? The number one priority is to ensure that the economy grow, so that we can ensure that we employ more and more people. And that brings me to the situation where you are an employee. Now, there are some people that think that you have the right to have a job. No, you don't have a right. It's a privilege to have a job today in South Africa, if you look at our unemployment rates. And you will hear that I put very much emphasis on to feel proud. How can a person who must provide for his or her family be proud if they don't have a job? No. And that's part why we get more and more people in our facilities. And now we are part of building that economy. Because the moment the world and business people see but correctional services are there to stamp out corruption, that they are proud, people with enthusiasm to work for a better future, they will invest more in South Africa. So don't think that correctional services does not play a role in building and enhancing the economic growth in South Africa. Each and every department must play their role, and we will play our role. So from my side, as I said, let's take hands, let's work hard. If the time to start is 7:15, you don't go to job or to your work at 10 o'clock. Why not? Why do you wait till 10 o'clock? If you have to report at 7:15, ensure that you're punctual. That is the way it should be. Because that also reflects your attitude towards your job. I mean, I'm used, when I worked in a factory, we had a clocking machine. If you were 1 minute late, by the end of that month, you get 1 minute's less payment. That's the environment I worked before I became a member of parliament. So I don't say these things to say that these are all the mistakes. I say these things to show to you I'm not blind when it comes to the klein jakkalsies. We must address those klein jakkalsies. And if my message for this afternoon can stick with you in terms of we are here to serve, we must be proud to serve, and we will deal with those klein jakkalsies. Then we will become winners for correctional services. I thank you very much.